Humans conform to evil deed for the same reason they pay their taxes. Evil exists in all of us. But the thing is, what we get as humans from others, which is their silence in the face of evil, is actually a core concept in human condition. Humans stand aside and watch a car burn and do nothing for the same reason they stand aside and let police do their job. Take these two examples. Humans watch a crash and don't do anything. Humans watch a police arrest and do not interfere. The core root as to why we do this is the same reason why many did not stop or protest the Nazis during Holocaust. We stand aside and watch because we conform. We have learned over a long time during our evolution that society is a helpful tool for our survival. We see the world and realize how insignificant and weak we are with respect to it, and start thinking, if society can protect me, then order must be followed. This creates the conundrum we experience, which later results in the banality of evil. It gets difficult to interpret which action in society will make it or break it. We have order in society to prevent it from collapsing and coordinate our efforts to survive harmoniously alongside each other. But then there exists corruption and abuse of power, which in itself is a danger to the survival of the individual and society alike. So corrupt efforts must be stopped, but good efforts must be allowed. But how should we decide which action is moving us closer to salvation or damnation? Well, we invent morality. But this subjective invention at its core results in more chaos, because everyone has their own version of morality, and they can't agree on whether toilet paper should be rolled from top or bottom, so we descend yet further into madness. Here starts the problem. Humans know evil deeds must be stopped, but they also know that sometimes greater good requires actions that their results may not seem pleasant in the near future. Humans have learned that sometimes you need to trust the process, even if you don't understand it. This is how soldiers and armies fight and live. A soldier carries out the orders because in the grand scheme of things, he has no idea how the plan is being carried out, or at times doesn't even know the plan. A car must move forward, but at least one gear in that car is moving alongside a different axis than the one the car's trajectory follows. If that gear decides to hell with everything, I don't participate in an action that doesn't seem aligned towards the destination of the car, then the car will stop because that gear stopped working. So you see, humans do have justification as to why they have to tolerate a certain degree of acceptance of any action if it is indeed in the interest of society. They accept that no matter what we do, at the end you must trust a certain process to keep the order of society, and we might not be able to fully understand it, much like that gear in the car. But this description is far from justifying evil. To me, personally, killing is not allowed under any circumstances, so no matter how practical some might find it, to me, in principle at least, will never be anything but evil. But we must understand how humans function first in order to concoct any plans to try to curb the ever so disturbingly more prevalent than we thought evil that exists amongst us. We stay quiet because we know some actions must be carried out. This results in conformity that allows a room for evil to exist amongst the normal. So we watch as the police takes a person away, and we don't move forward since determination is not exact. But then you do find some fully transparent cases as well. For example, we do encounter a case when police is dragging a woman from her hair into a van because she did not comply with compulsory hijab. Well, this is easy, right? Evil as naked as you can find it. But then two issues arise which fuel silence, even though its evil nature is obvious as daylight. One is that humans tend to fear the consequences of action, which will come sooner and will be more obvious, like torture, jail, or even death. On the other hand, silence doesn't have an obvious and soon result. In fact, some people don't even notice the long-term consequence of "you're next." The second issue is that some people do really believe women without hijab are immoral, which, even though we're having an enlightened conversation in which one must take into account all the sides and perspectives, but I'm not going to dignify that position with any further mention or explanation. But what I feel we must talk about is the fact that evil becomes banal in societies because humans have to conform. This is the core of the problem. The problem is fixing this, if one assumes and imagines an absolute fix exists, will break human society. People pay taxes because they conform. They follow the law because they conform. What will happen to a society without conformity? This is a paradox, in my opinion, at the core of human phenomenon. So where should we draw the line? I'm not going to go in depth in this conclusion part because I think my main goal here was to just express my opinion on the origin of banality of evil. But I do want to mention that I imagine a better relationship and communication between the institution of government and the population will be a good starting point, where establishing transparency and certain absolutist ideals may offer some help in this regard. I'd imagine if humans could agree on prohibition of killing in general, then we would not have this problem anymore. Especially since death is a one-way ticket. There are no taking backs. So I hope for a better future in which we don't have to concern ourselves with mortality. One can only hope.